Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good day to all of you. Today we have an invited speaker, technologist Lieu Chee Leong, and he is currently the head of engineering for SR Aviation Sdn Berhad. And Mr. Ricky basically used to be our adjunct professor at the Department of Aerospace Engineering, I think for the past 3 years. And he has vast background and experience in the aviation industry, especially on the aircraft maintenance scope of work. Okay, probably Mr. Ricky himself will inform you about his vast experience and background. And his title of lecture today is on the managing delivery of a new aircraft into Malaysia.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Engineer Technologist Dr. Abdul Rahim. Fellow participants, very good afternoon to all of you. And first of all, I would like to say thank you to Professor Engineer Technologist Dr. Abdul Rahim for inviting me to share a little bit of my knowledge and experience on your subject, on your subject related to EAS 3123, part of the aerospace industry management subject. And the title that I've chosen to actually share with all the participants today, it is to share my experience on managing delivery of new aircraft into Malaysia. Okay, as I was saying just now, I will be sharing a brief introduction of myself, the process I've been through to what I am today. And then I'm going to cover the scope of a brief overview of my aircraft delivery experience. What are the aircraft that I've taken before, and the aircraft that I accepted and the aircraft that I rejected. The essential of aircraft delivery process. What are the main processes involved here? Primarily, the main delivery process involved if one day you become part of the aircraft projects, in bringing back a new airplane into the company or into the country that you're working on. So I'm going to share a little bit on the processes involved, and I'm going to touch on human capital essentials. Now, human capital essentials, it is where you and me will be. What are the crucial elements within you? What are the attributes that is important that you need to know so that you can develop your dreams to become an aerospace engineer or an aircraft engineer that can actually be part of the aircraft delivery projects. And I'm going to end up with a conclusion, hopefully to encourage all of you, the young generations, to actually continue to pursue your dream in aerospace engineering. And especially in our Malaysian environment, our nation, the aerospace engineering is still one of the key industry in the Malaysian Rancangan Malaysia Ke-12. And on this slide here, I have a picture of this person in the army uniform, in the army uniform. Can anyone tell me, or can anyone let me know who this person is? Can anybody recognize this person? This person is very important, and this person is doing the same degree, program that you and me are involved. And this is the person who changed the history of mankind. Anybody can take a guess?
Neil Armstrong.
Yep. Okay, hang on, let me just put on my... Okay. So actually, this is Neil Armstrong, Neil Armstrong is the first person who the first man actually who landed in moon and actually came back safely, And for all you all know, I'm not sure whether you all know that actually Neil Armstrong is an aeronautical engineer. Of course, after he graduated from Purdue University, he carried on and joined the United States Air Force, and he was actually involved in the Korean War, flying as a pilot. And of course, Neil Armstrong actually was very brave to take the challenge, to go to the moon and become the first man to actually walk on the moon. Now, maybe you all do not know, when the Apollo 11 project was actually launched, with the objective, with the mission of going to the moon, they need to select a competent person, a person who are good at solving problems, and the engineers, if you are aware, engineers are actually good problem solvers. So when the NASA send a mission to the moon, they have to choose not only as a pilot, but a person who are trained to solve complex problems. Engineers like you, like me, all of us are trained to actually look into problems objectively and then solve the problems if we were to encounter any difficulty or any challenges as we move on our mission. Neil Armstrong is that person. You and me are also trained to have such a mindset. I'm not sure whether you're aware or not. When the Apollo 13 was actually launched to the moon, there was already a plan in NASA that only out of the 3 people that they sent to the moon, Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and also Michael Collins, they were actually planned and ready. 3 will go, 1 will come back. Do you understand what this means? 3 will go, Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and also Michael Collins, but 1 will come back. They were prepared for it. Any one of you know what was the plan? I mean, why is it like this? Because they were not confident. After Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong landed on the moon, Michael Collins is actually on the return module, the command module, the capsule at the top there, waiting for them. They were not confident 100% that Michael Collins and Neil Armstrong will be able to launch back from the moon, going up to the command module. They were not confident, so they were prepared for it. So engineers are people, despite knowing all this, Michael Collins and Buzz Aldrin and the Neil Armstrong, they were the brave engineers, who actually continue on. Even the Buzz Aldrin is also an engineer, They continue on with the mission, and actually they are the one who changed the history of mankind. So aerospace engineers like you and me, please have confidence, grow your skills, grow your knowledge, and then you will be very useful actually to the development and growth of the world, especially in today's talk, who can actually manage the delivery of the aircraft project for an airline, even for my company. I did the management of the aircraft project that we actually spent hundreds of millions to bring back the airplane. Okay, now a brief introduction of myself here. I actually started my career in Malaysia Airlines. In 1989, I left Form 6, and I was studying in MBS KL. And 1989, I was doing science stream, but I stopped to join Malaysia Airlines. Now, Malaysia Airlines is a place where the aircraft is there, aircraft engineering and maintenance is there. It's part of the aerospace ecosystem in Malaysia, and I joined in as a trainee artisan. Now, trainee artisan means somebody who worked with hands, yeah, somebody who use your hands to work on the technical part of the airplane. For example, our hand skills are good in removing parts, in dismantling components, in working on the aircraft. Our hands are trained to be like that. So it was a 3 years of training in 1989, starting from 1989. Of course, it was even going into MAS, yeah, to be a trainee artisan. I think the just the application alone, yeah, a few gunny, yeah, a few gunny sack, yeah, a few gunny sack, a few gunny sack, thousands and thousands of people, and out of these thousands and thousands of people, only 24 was chosen. Only 24 was chosen to be trained only as an artisan. So you can nowadays they call it a technician. So in 1989, training started. I actually established as a trainee artisan, as an artisan in 1992. So I was working as an aircraft technician on the aircraft 737. But then during the 3 years, I actually did a very, very hard, put a lot of effort in my study, just like you and me now. Please don't waste your time during your undergrad studies. Make full use of every program that is arranged by the faculty to make sure you maximize out of it. I actually maximize every little bit, every part of Malaysia Airlines of the training scheme. So by the end of 3 years, I was ready to actually go for my aircraft engineer's license. Of course, during that, I have been guided by a lot of seniors, a lot of engineers, a lot of, for example, the Fort Mantan Ketua Pengarah DCA, Dato Sri Azharuddin. That's my picture with him back in the 1993. We have been gone back a long, long time. So he was one of my mentors who actually guided me to continue, give the inspiration. So in 1992 itself, I actually obtained my license, aircraft maintenance engineer's license from UK. And because I got my license full mechanical, yeah, full mechanical means everyman engine. I was actually being recruited back into Malaysia Airlines very fast, within 8 months, yeah. Within 8 months, I was absorbed back into Malaysian Airlines, and now I was put into the training aircraft maintenance engineer scheme. And that is where I actually start focusing even deeper into the aircraft system, and I established again as a 737 type rated engineer in 1993. Even that also, my 737 type training was very, very short. Why? Because I fully utilized the facility, fully utilized the expertise of the technician. I asked a lot of questions to the technicians. I fully learned a lot from the experienced senior engineers who actually guided me. In 1995, I left Malaysia Airlines and became EVA Air station engineer. I was actually the youngest station engineer in EVA Airways, and I competed. Yeah, I competed for the post. Yeah, with a lot of senior engineers, very experienced engineer in Malaysia Airlines and also in Air New Zealand. But the reason why I actually got it is again, yeah, because of the knowledge. I might be young, I might not have super deep, long experience, but my knowledge and foundation was strong enough to actually make for the management, for EVA Air management to actually make me offer me the station engineer position, where I actually further trained onto a lot of other wide bodies, MD-11, the 76 and the 747. And also in 1995, I pursue on further to actually get my FAA license, A&B, and start certifying perform airworthiness certification as a station engineer. In 2002, I went on to actually join KLM Royal Dutch Airlines. Now, this is a Western European company where I actually went in to actually again to get an understanding of how the engineer function in the Western culture. So I have the experience in the Malaysian culture. I have experience in the Oriental culture. EVA Airways is a Taiwanese carrier, and I have Western culture as an engineer. 2002, And I actually continue until 2006, where the current company that I'm working on now, I joined them as the head of corporate jet MRO. This section from 2006 onwards is the year where I start actually involved in corporate jet, business jet. Earlier I involved with buses. So me it looked like buses, 74 Airbus. These are big buses. But today, in 2006, I actually went into the corporate jet. It's just like maintaining, and then as an engineer for buses, now you're going into Rolls Royce. That kind of movement that I actually went in. So in 2006 until now, I have involved in many jets here. Bombardier business jet, Cessna Citation business jet, the Gulfstream business jet. Take delivery on all these jets. And I'm actually very fortunate. Yeah, I'm very fortunate to have Professor Engineer Technologist Dr. Abdul Rahim actually as my mentor. I like to put him as my mentor academic, who actually has guided me, how to come into the academic world from the industry, and also how to contribute back to the academic world, and also to the engineering fraternity. So I'm very thankful to Dr. Rahim, and it is where I am now until today. Continue my love, my passion in the aerospace and aircraft engineering. So that is actually my very basic background. And probably I share a little bit. This is the most recent delivery that I took. Yeah, and this is actually the 12th aircraft. Since I started my career in aircraft engineering, this is the 12th aircraft that I took delivery, and this happened just about 2 months ago. And I was actually in the project, inside in this project, I was actually being designated, as an aircraft acceptance and flight engineer. What is aircraft acceptance? I have to do all the due diligence process as an engineer, and then accept the airplane. I have to sign documents and accept the airplane. But don't you think there's something missing here? Can anybody guess what is missing here? Anybody can guess? Isn't it the pilot are the people who actually usually, the center of the attention, and they go and fly the airplane, they accept the plane? Isn't it supposed to be that way? No, it is actually the engineers. So even though that the pilots have a lot of publicity, but the key person in the aerospace company, in the airline, in a flying aircraft, operational airplane, especially when the purchasing of the airplane, it is still the engineers. It is still the engineers. The engineers knows the detail, design, the specification of the airplane, how the airplane has been certified. The engineers understand it in detail, not so much of the pilot. Pilot is just operate the aircraft. They can operate, and they feel, oh, this is how the airplane behaves. But as far as the design, structure, propulsion system, avionics system, all this only the engineers will know in detail. And I was also assigned as a flight engineer for this mission. The reason is because not only I have to do the inspection of the airplane and accept the airplane, I have to follow and fly the airplane. I think for this mission, I flew probably more than 40 to 50 hours, across the United States, through and flow from the West Coast to the East Coast, from the West Coast and East Coast. And my task is actually to do the task and check the aircraft systems thoroughly, including the aircraft cabin and entertainment system. Engineers knows it. So this is the 12th aircraft, and you can see the picture here on my right hand side. Basically, this is actually the acceptance acceptance ceremony, yeah, for this business jet. Now you can see that the engineer myself was actually standing at the center, and the directors, yeah, all the directors of the Gulfstream actually was surrounding and listening to you, and the owner don't even be present. They don't even present. You as the engineer, we as the engineer will represent the owner and give an acceptance speech to the group. So for all of you engineers, yeah, please do not restrain your skills, yeah, and knowledge that I only know how to do engineering work. I can only know how to do complex calculation. Not just like that. You have to develop yourself, build up yourself with the management skills, with the soft skills. Equip it yourself, and actually this is all inside your module, your 4 years program already. You have to actually learn and pick it up as much as possible, because you will never know in the future you will need all these skills. Yeah, more, as you understand the technical part of the airplane, you also need, we as engineers, we need to have the soft skills. Yeah. Okay. Now, as an aircraft acceptance as flight engineers, yeah, there were a total of 12 projects that I was involved. Out of these 12 aircraft projects, I rejected 2 airplanes. It means even though the company or the company had money, these airplanes sometimes it costs about 200 million just for one airplane. The owner, even though he's ready to pay for the airplane, but if we as engineers say no, this aircraft is not acceptable because of reason 1, reason 2, reason 3, we are able to justify to the owner that it is not acceptable. The owner will listen to you as an engineer, not to listen to the pilot, but listen to the engineers. This is how important an aerospace engineer is. This is how important an aircraft engineer is. Your decision, yes or no, not only it affect the life of the people, but it involves huge amount of money, millions and millions and millions. So how can we become incompetent? How can our knowledge and skill not good enough? If you're not good enough, you're going to make bad decision. So I accepted basically 1 Gulfstream 500, which I took this year, 2 Gulfstream G280 that I accepted, 1 Gulfstream G280 that I rejected. I told the owner, and I wrote a report to the owner, the reason why this aircraft cannot be accepted. I accepted 1 Bombardier Challenger 350, one of the newest Bombardier fleet. I rejected one of the Falcon 2000 airplane. Falcon 2000. Actually, it was actually in overseas, and I went and actually looked into the airplane, checked the systems, checked the documentation, checked the compliance, and you'll be very surprised that sometimes they hide information. Owners or the companies, other companies will hide information, and if we are the engineers who are not, we do not understand the compliance, the system enough, we will be cheated. Once we get cheated, sometimes there issue of airworthiness, there issue of safety. All these things will become a burden and a liability to the new owner. So of course, I went through a certain level of inspection, very, very careful due diligence, and rejected the Falcon 2000 in overseas. Did not accept, so I flew back from overseas and said no, this aircraft is not acceptable, and the owner will accept it. The owner will accept it because we aerospace engineers, aircraft engineers, you know your stuff. You understand the system. You know what aircraft is all about. You know what is airworthiness all about. Took 1 Citation 10, Citation 10 Plus. The fastest business jet in the world is actually the Citation 10 Plus. I accepted it. 3 Cessna Citation, Sovereign 680, and 2 Citation Bravo. So total 12 aircraft where I was the acceptance engineer and the flight engineer. Now, if you really want to be part of this, if you want to be part of this kind of projects, you have to actually continue to grow your passion. Because why am I selected and why not other people selected? Why? I don't drive the owner, I don't drive the company. It was a call to me, Ricky, we have a meeting, let's come into the project room and then we're going to discuss. It was chosen, and there must be a good reason for them to choose you. Yeah, for the management, senior management, the board of directors mention the name and chose you to be in the project, to lead the project in the engineering. Okay, now, many people, many engineers, many engineers, probably out of 20 or out of 30, maybe one will be chosen to be involved in the aircraft delivery process. So actually, not many engineers got the opportunity to actually get involved in aircraft delivery process. But I'm going to share with you here, what are the 7 basic steps, the essential steps or essential processes where an aircraft delivery will take place. Number 1, it always starts off with aircraft acquisition projects. Aircraft acquisition project by the company. Now, because these airplanes are very expensive and very complex one, to actually get purchase an airplane, it is not like, go out to the Proton shop or go out to the Toyota shop, bring a bit of money, look at this car, look at this color, I think I like it, and then you pay the down payment, and then 2 weeks later your car comes. Not for the airplane, yeah. Any airplane, whether it's an airlines airplane or whether it is a business jet, it is actually very complex process. So you need to actually have it as a project. You cannot say like one person do, okay, Ricky, you just make the decision, or the CEO, you just make the decision. Cannot be like that one. Very complex. Otherwise, you get into trouble. You get sued in the court. You can't even get your plane. Your down payment cannot. Your down payment deposit cannot get back. All kinds of problem. That's why we have to call it as a project, aircraft acquisition project. Usually, this is led by the CEO. After that, the next process is the issue of the signing of the letter of intent. Yeah, the letter of intent, intention to purchase. And then after that, you have to pay a deposit amount depending on the aircraft manufacturers. Sometimes they want $500,000, sometimes they want $2 million, sometimes they want $10 million. If it's a very expensive plane, it all depends. Have to pay the deposit before they come out with the aircraft sale and purchase agreement. So the fourth process is actually aircraft purchase agreement. Now, this aircraft purchase agreement is the process where it is reviewing of all the details, that is what the company has chosen. Yeah, after I'm going to go into a little bit deeper into it, and then the engineering only comes in. Yeah, the whole scope of engineering team only comes in during the pre-purchase inspection. Of course, in the aircraft acquisition project, the engineering director will be there, or the head of engineering will be there. But the engineering team on the wider scope will actually start coming in from at the aircraft pre-purchase inspection. A lot of engineers will be probably 2, 3, 4, or even 5 engineers will be deployed to the manufacturers, for example, to Boeing in Seattle, and do the pre-purchase inspection. Actually, we call it production inspection, and also compliance inspection. Yeah, that is actually the engineers start going in. Yeah, and then after that, you will, if all the process has gone through, you will come to the stage of acceptance of airplane. Once the acceptance aircraft is acceptable, has been tested, stock characteristics has been tested, the pilots come in and flew, and they feel satisfied, can handle, then only we do the final part, which is actually the acceptance of airplane. And after the the acceptance of airplane, it will come to the closing process for the aircraft, and then the airplane will be delivered. Yeah. Okay, up to here, any questions from the students? No? It's a very interesting process. Okay, let me go to the next slide. Now, probably I just share with you during my process, my delivery process. Yeah, there were 3 out of 10 accepted flights. Yeah, or accepted airplane. There were 3 cases. Yeah, that I was actually even though it is a new airplane, there were 3 cases where the new airplane experience. So many of you, we think that, oh, this is a new car, nothing will be, everything will be okay, right? Most of the time, 99%, if we buy a new car, for it to actually happen while you're driving the car back to your house, for something system to fail on the car is very, very unlikely. Very, very unlikely. Why? Because a car systems is actually much less complicated than the aircraft. Very much less complicated. So in my process, I was involved in 3 incidents. Now, 2 incidents was actually involved to sensor failure on the aircraft aircraft cycle system, air cycle system, where I have actually a pressurization loss in flight. Yeah, pressurization loss in flight, where I have to actually we were involved, yeah, in the grounding the airplane at the Pacific, in the islands, on the islands at the Pacific Ocean, yeah. And then there was also an air turn back. That means after departure, we actually have a mechanical latching systems on one of the compartments, the avionics compartments, where the latch actually become unlatched in flight, yeah, in flight. Imagine if you have an avionics panel or avionics door become unlatched in flight, it will become very, very critical. So we did an air turn back. So these are the things that sometimes as an aircraft engineers or aerospace engineer, just like Neil Armstrong, he also encountered problem as he approached the moon. Do you know that Neil Armstrong, when he was about to, the original spot that they're supposed to land on the moon, when they arrived there, they realized that the moon, that spot is actually full of rocks, big rocks. They cannot land because the moment they land, they will actually topple the lunar lander. You see? So similarly, when we bring in the airplane, we also have a problem, and engineers are supposed to have the capability to solve these kind of problems, and then bring back the airplane. So in all these incidents, me as an engineer, I managed to solve all these problems and then continue the flight back safely back to home base. Solving complex problem, aerospace engineers. Yeah, very interesting. Okay, now who are the people involved in the engineering people who are involved, yeah, in the aircraft delivery process? Yeah, people like you, people like me. Okay, now let's talk about aerospace engineers, people like you, who may be joining the aerospace industry, people who are expert in aircraft systems. I'm talking about aerospace and space engineer. Aerospace engineer, you must be good at systems. You may be good in structures. You may be good in avionics. Sorry, there's a typo there. Avionics. You may be good in propulsion systems. Yeah, propulsion systems. You are good or expert in airworthiness or compliance. Yeah, reliability. You are good in reliability. Sometimes you are also part of the CAMO team. CAMO means continuous airworthiness management organization. Usually, these CAMO are actually approved and part of the airline or an independent approved organization CAMO. If the aerospace engineer in these systems usually are the people who actually be on the selection list, yeah, to be part of the aircraft delivery team, yeah. Now, the other engineers that actually will be involved, yeah, in the aircraft delivery process is actually the licensed aircraft maintenance engineers. Now, licensed aircraft maintenance engineers, you could be a mechanical engineer or a avionics engineer. We are talking about B2, B1, or category C engineers. You might be an engineer from the planning section. You might be an engineer for the quality and safety, yeah, QA section, or you might be an engineer from airworthiness and compliance section, reliability, thermal, and also projects. So these are the people that is actually might be chosen, yeah, from the list, yeah, as part of the aircraft delivery process. Now, as an engineer, you'll be chosen because of you having the right qualification, the right experience, the right knowledge, the right skills, the right attitudes, and you have the right attributes. These are the engineers that will be chosen to actually to be a part of the aircraft delivery team. Yeah, I'm going to go a little bit deeper afterwards. Okay, now the first process acquisition project. Yeah, now this aircraft acquisition project is usually led by the CEO or sometimes a managing director. He is the center that will be calling for the stakeholders, to form a project team, the initial acquisition project team. Now, this team, the CEO will invite people from several parties. Yeah, number one, he might invite people from the board, yeah, from the board of directors of the company, business development directors, yeah, the expansion of the company, the expansion of the fleet, the expansion of the destination of the flight of the airline. They will also invite the flight operations director, yeah. The flight operations director, why? Because they are the people who will do the flight planning, and also they are the people who will actually operate the airplane, yeah. The next one is actually the government stakeholders. Why is the government stakeholders here? Some of the airline, yeah, some of the airline partially is actually government owned, yeah. Like some of our some of our airlines in Malaysia, it is owned by Khazanah and all those. So if you want to buy a new airplane, Khazanah has to come in. Khazanah has to come in. Of course, the engineering directors will definitely be on the acquisition project team, led by the CEO, and then the legal department. Yeah, the legal department in terms of understanding the legal aspect of the purchase, the agreement. Sometimes the accord, they have a certain accord and international agreements that Malaysia have to comply with. The operations director are actually the airport people, the station managers who knows which airport has the capability or has the facility or has the equipment to support the new aircraft that we intend to buy. And of course, the last part is actually the finance director. The finance director will talk about the financing leverage, the banking facility. Can we get loan? How much loan? How are we going to do the down payment and all those? And in this team, they actually have to decide which aircraft do they want to buy from. Are they going to select a Boeing product? Are they going to select an Airbus product? Are they going to select a Bombardier product? Or are they going to select on the Cessna product or Gulfstream product? They have to come collectively, which is the best one for the benefit of the company, maybe for 5 years, next 5 years, or even next 10 years, in terms of investment and the expected return, business income or revenue generated. Okay, so this is the first project team that will be developed. Any questions on this slide? No questions? Okay, our focus afterwards will be very much on the engineering side, yeah, because this is where you and me are coming from. Yeah. Okay. Now, one of the very quick reference that they need to decide actually is on the slide. The management group just now, the board, the project group just now, they have to decide some of the options that they have. Now, if you look at this slide, yeah, both are actually a 787. But can you tell me what is the difference between these two 787? Anybody can tell me? Can you see the difference apart from the logo and the company? The livery? What is the main difference? Can you see it?
Sir, is it the wing placement? One is the low wing and other one is the middle wing.
Okay, both are actually same aircraft model, but there is a huge difference if you look at these two pictures. The top picture, if you see my mouse here, this is actually a passenger airplane. Because why? You can see the windows on the side here. But for the bottom aircraft, you actually don't see the windows airplane. You don't see the windows here. You only see one window at the front, one or two windows at the back. But along it, you don't see any windows. What does this tell you? Can anybody guess? Why is 1787 got so many windows? Why is the other one have no windows on the fuselage? Literally no windows on the side. The fuselage.
Sir,
Anybody know?
is it because one is passenger aircraft and another one is cargo aircraft?
Yes. One is a passenger airplane and one is a cargo airplane. The project team have to decide what type of airplane they want to purchase for their business expansion. Do we want to buy a passenger airplane or do we want to buy a freighter airplane, a cargo airplane? So this is very, very important decision that they have to make, because if we buy a passenger airplane, it is much more complex than buying a cargo airplane, because you're talking about the entertainment system, you're talking about the comfort, you're talking about the seat, how are you going to lay the seat out, first class, business class, economy class, super economy class, all these things become very complex. So it affects a lot of option, a lot of the decision the management project team will have to decide. However, if you were to buy a cargo aircraft, a freighter airplane, then you don't have to concern so much about these things. So this is a huge decision. Are we going to buy a freighter or are we going to buy a passenger airplane? Each of it has a different path, different complexity. Okay, so that is the first thing that they have to do. Do you want a passenger airplane or a freighter airplane? Now, the next thing that they do is actually to choose which type of airplane. Do you want an Airbus airplane or do we want what we call that Boeing airplanes? Now, if you want to know the performance of the aircraft, where would you go? So that is where the engineers come in. The engineering director that is actually part of the project team, he can actually table out this aircraft type certificate, because the aircraft type certificate will explain and describe the complete design specification of the aircraft and also the performance of the airplane. The pilot will not be able to understand, but the engineers can understand the type certificate. The description, the parameters, the limitations, the speed, the type of pressurization systems, it is all listed inside the certification program for this particular airplane. That is the reason why in any aircraft acquisition, it is mandatory, it is compulsory that the engineers must be there. If the engineers are not there, they cannot initiate the project. That is how important engineers are. Remember, I said in all the projects that I've actually did, yeah, the pilots always come later. It is always the engineers. All my projects, in the 12 projects, the engineers go first. That's how engineers are. And if we have problems during the projects, we are able to actually solve problems. We are able to write reports. All of you must learn how to write reports. You learn writing good reports by doing your assignment, written assignment, well, in your undergrad study. So please don't complain why the lecturer giving me so much of this assignment. It is actually training you for the future. Be thankful to the lecturers. Okay. Any questions on this slide? Before I move on further? Yeah, everybody clear, yeah? Let me go to the next slide. Yeah, okay, remember, first you have the project. The project has decided you're going to buy a passenger airplane, and then you're going to express your intent. We have to communicate with Boeing. And at Boeing, we found our projects team has reviewed many meetings, and we have decided the next airplane that we want to purchase for the expansion of our business is the 787. We, the CEO or the given delegated person, will issue a letter of intent to the aircraft manufacturer. You must express the intention. We intend to purchase, 10 Boeing 787 with this passenger configuration. We have reviewed the technical specification, and it matches with our business objective. And we are expressing here that we would like to purchase the airplane. Now, once the letter of intent is signed and sent to the aircraft manufacturer Boeing sales department, they will respond to you and say that the letter of intent has been received, your comments, your inputs has been accepted and acknowledged, and therefore to proceed further, to the next stage, there is actually a deposit. No money, no talk, right? So actually, it is always like that, right? Since my younger days, there's always a song. There's always a song, and no money, no talk, no money, no talk. It is like that. So they will ask you to pay a deposit. Probably the deposit might not be very much. Yeah, probably let's say the airplane is 200 million. Probably they say 10% deposit or 5% deposit in order for them to process to move on, to the next stage. So the deposit is the amount that you have to put in right front. What happened if you cancel the letter of intent later? What happened? Most of the time, they will actually refund back your deposit, and some company refund it back fully to you. Some company might actually charge a service charge. But you get 99% or 98%, of the money back to you if you decided that you want to terminate the letter of intent. But in any case, for us to actually move the next stage, you must pay a deposit first to the manufacturer, to the aircraft manufacturer. Once the deposit has been paid, this is what's going to happen next. Okay. The next stage is actually the aircraft sales and purchase agreement. This is the formal purchase agreement. Again, the sales and purchase agreement, it is a very long, complex, huge legal terminology agreement. So you have to get the lawyers in. You have to get the legal department involved. so that they can vet through all the legal terms and statement in the agreement. Because if we are not careful, we will get tangled up with a loss, you know, or you have to pay additional money when you realize the airplane that come doesn't comply to what you expected. So it is very careful where all the original, the first acquisition project personnel, the operation directors, the finance directors, probably the business development directors, the flight ops director, the engineering director, they have to review the sales and purchase agreement in detail. Because sometimes there is a liability issue. For example, the 737 MAX that was being grounded for 2 years, 3 years. In the legal statement, you know, in the agreement, it is where the FAA, it is where the National Safety Transportation Board, it is where the owner, the operator, the airline will move and actually bring a case against the Boeing aircraft manufacturer. So the case of Boeing 737 MAX, yeah, why is it the acquisition project team decided to accept the 737 MAX? Why? Didn't they know that there's a problem on the airplane? Anybody can answer me? Why? They still buy the airplane. So many of them, hundreds of them. Why? Anybody can tell me why? How come there was a miss out on this one and they purchased the 737 MAX that killed 300-400 people? It is actually the type certificate has been issued by the FAA. Once the aircraft type certificate has been issued, it is a statement of compliance that the aircraft has been manufactured according to the rules and regulations, including all the safety aspects, safety design, safety elements, the redundancy safety systems. It is all there. That's why they have a type certificate. So it was a trust on the type certificate. Therefore, the acquisition project team accepted the airplane as already fully compliant with the safety requirements of the design of the airplane. So what happened? What happened to Boeing 737 MAX? It was later discovered a lot of problems in the design and the development stage of the 737 MAX. The engineering acquisition project team, you know, the aircraft acquisition project team accepted the and that is a normal process. Accepted the aircraft type certificate, it is safe. That is why the mistake is. So of course, everybody went back and, you know, and actually sued the aircraft manufacturer. Yeah. Okay. So the sales and purchase agreement contents will be reviewed by all the members here in detail. Sometimes it takes very long time, and then each party in this project team will actually accept or reject the contents of the agreement. The aircraft manufacturer legal side will actually adjust or write the agreement that is actually biased, yeah, to the aircraft manufacturer one. So many times, yeah, the owner or the airline's lawyers have to actually rebut or counter the agreement terms, and it actually can be done. It actually can be done. So this is one of those ceremonies that you can see. The Boeing's signing ceremony. Sometimes they sign it in the air show, yeah. Singapore Air Show, Paris Air Show, Farnborough Air Show, Lima. In our Malaysia, we have a Lima, Langkawi International Maritime and Aerospace Air Show. Sometimes they have the signing ceremony about the purchase of the new airplanes. Yeah, of course, this one I'm using a picture that I downloaded from the internet. It was a 737. It's complete. They were signed. They were signed the same agreement by both party, aircraft manufacturer Boeing and also by the airline. Yeah. Okay, this is a production line that you will see in a Boeing factory in Seattle or in Charleston. Yeah, or in Charleston. You can see the airplanes is long. The hangar is huge. It's a mega structure. Yeah. In the facility, if you got a chance to visit this aircraft manufacturer, if you happen to go to Boeing, there is a public tour that you can actually go and join, pay some money, and join and visit the facility. I actually went. To the Gulfstream Savannah production facility to actually visit the production like similar like this. Yeah, similar like this. So this is where the engineers, inside, we are coming into the scope of production, pre-purchase inspection. Now, pre-purchase inspection is a very, very crucial stage. That means from the manufacturer side, the aircraft will be produced, but from the airline side, as part of the agreement, they will send inspector. Yeah, these usually inspectors are the engineers who actually go to Boeing and probably stay there 6 months, 8 months or 1 year, or sometimes 2 years, depending on the complexity of the agreement. Yeah. Now, pre-purchase inspection, they cover 2 areas. Number 1 is actually the production inspection. Now, production inspection means when they do the assembling of the airplane, when they put on the skin, when they put on even the structure, when they install the air pressurization components, when they put in the engine, there are people there from the owner side or the airline side to actually inspect it, to make sure that it is in compliance during the assembly. So that is what we call production inspection. Yeah. So engineers are usually these are the aircraft maintenance engineers or the aerospace engineers who go. Yeah. And then on the compliance section is very much on the rules and regulations, documentations. Yeah, especially the paperwork. For example, if I were to buy a 787 to come back to Malaysia and fly for Malaysia Airlines, the Civil Aviation Authority will actually give a long list of requirements, or you must put in your registration 9M. You must register the airplane to the CM. You must do a certificate of airworthiness export, for under CM. You must comply to all these markings under the Malaysian government. All these are under the compliance inspection. It can be done by the aircraft maintenance engineers, or it can be done by the technical services engineers. These are the areas where the engineers will come in to make sure it is produced properly, the airplane, and also it complies to the rules and regulations. So this part here is where I was involved in, including a lot of things, including a test flight and all those. So the scope that we will look into is basically, in short, it's actually mechanical and avionic system, mechanical structures. We look in the systems, we look into the configuration. Some aircraft manufacturer, they buy two type of classes. I have a first class and also the economy class. Some say no, I want a business class, I want first class, I want an economy class. So cabin configuration inspection, the scope has to be covered. What type of entertainment system are we going to put for the cabin? It is a freighter aircraft, no cabin entertainment system is required. This is a passenger airplane, got VIP, VIP configuration. What are the entertainment systems are we going to put in? How many videos, how many movies can they watch? Is there a satellite phone? Is there a passenger game station and all those? All this will be put in cabin configuration. We are supposed to inspect it. And then, of course, the documentations is the C of A, right? Was there a test flight report? And then the test flight report, do we know how to interpret the test flight results? These are all part of our job. Was there a balancing effect? Was there a flutter? Was the test flight, was the stall test done properly? Was there a flight fluttering, engine vibration? Do we have all these problems? Only the engineers know. Only the engineers can understand in detail. Yeah, and of course, one of the part of the process is make sure that we do a test flight. Test flight means we fly the airplane up, soak the airplane. Like for me, the last airplane with our airplane, we soaked the aircraft for 7 hours at the altitude of about 45,000 feet. Almost negative 50 degrees centigrade out there. Soak the airplane at that temp for 7 hours at negative almost 50 degrees centigrade. And that is the time we want to see whether any problems happen on the airplane or not. When an airplane cold soak for 7 or 8 hours or 10, 12 hours, literally, if we understand engineering, we know it is so cold that actually the airplane will shrink. It will actually shrink because of the contraction. Yeah. What happens if your wires is loose or if your wires are not connected properly? All these kind of problems will actually crop out. Oh, I have done the test flight on the Citation 10 Plus. After we are supposed to do the cold soak flight for 7 hours, on the 6 hours we have engine problem, engine fault being displayed. We have to do a descent down and land back on the ground. We have to rectify these problems. And we take the aircraft up again. After they have rectified the problem, we take the airplane up again and we do another coastal flight, 6 hours, 7 hours, see whether the defects comes back again or not. All these are done by the engineers. And that pilots are usually owner's pilots and also the manufacturer's pilot, two together at the same time. But the engineers are all at the back doing all the system functionality check, operation check, parameters check, system check. Very detailed, very thorough. Any questions on this slide? I do not know any one of you have actually fly on the airplane and stall the plane or not. I flew on a couple of these test flights. We really took up the airplane up to high and then stall the airplane at different flap configuration. And I actually can feel the whole aircraft actually was shaking, fluttering before actually it comes to the stall point. Of course, we did not actually drop into the stall. We were actually, the stick shaker is about to activate and then we bring it down again. That means the stall protection system is working. You drop. Only engineers engineers and pilots get this opportunity. Okay, no question. I move to the next slide. Okay, this is a Boeing production facility. Yeah, it is very, very huge. Yeah, it is very, very, very huge. It is so huge that sometimes they have to use a electric bike or electric or bicycle to move around the production plant. Yeah, this is actually part of this Boeing production plant in the US. Yeah. Now, I want to touch a bit on this one because to me, you are at the stage of becoming an engineer. Yeah, you are attending your courses. You're doing your degree program now. The human capital essentials. That means we need people who are more than just degree holder. We cannot say like, oh, you're a degree holder, and therefore to be part of this team. Cannot. We have to, in order to be part of the technical services engineer, quality assurance engineer, or licensed aircraft engineer, or tool and equipment for the new airplane that you're purchasing, We have to have engineer that is chosen specifically to make sure that they have the right qualification, aerospace background, right experience. You have been working on the floor before. Like me, as a technician, as an artisan, I have actually go deep into the aircraft belly, go deep into the aircraft fuel tank, and I know exactly what is inside the fuel tank as a technician, because I was inside to remove, the corrosion. I've seen corrosion inside the fuel tank and the hidden areas. Because I was a technician, I was a hands-on people on the floor. That is why they want me to go, because when I go in, I know what to expect and I know what to see. Right experience. Now, right knowledge. Now, what do you mean by right knowledge? If I'm a mechanical system, like for me, a propulsion system, pressurization systems, all this knowledge, how does the pressurization system work? How does the air cycle machine works? Where are the sensors? Which are the sensors will activate that will shut down the pressurization system? Which are the sensors that will activate but it will not shut down the system? And what happens if the sensor has failed? What can you do as an engineer to ensure the system is still safe and continue to operate? We can only do this if we have the right knowledge. If we don't have the right knowledge, you can never do it. That's why company, I do recruitment for the engineers and the technicians. They must be tested for their knowledge. If they cannot pass the recruitment knowledge, basic knowledge paper, but they fail the results, they will fail and they will not be recruited. So when we study, like when you're studying in the university, UPM, you have very good lecturers there. You have good libraries there. You have a wind tunnel there. You have lab there. Do you fully utilize it to enhance your knowledge, enhance your skills? Do you do it? Because once you finish your 4 years, you are graduated. You don't have that opportunity anymore. So use this short, limited time in UPM Aerospace department to gain the right knowledge, the right skills. And the good thing is you have so many lecturers there. If you don't understand, you can always go back to the lecturer and they will explain to you. Yeah, right skills, especially on your intern. Yeah, when you are attached to a company during your internship, please don't be choosy. Whatever avenue that you have, whatever work that they give you, sometimes it is just like asking you to just make coffee and tea. But do we know that by making coffee and tea, it actually also teaches us to be humble. It always teaches us to be humble. So that is actually part of the learning skills. Imagine if we get involved in aircraft delivery process and we are not humble, sit down on the negotiation table, meeting, we cannot even be humble and then try to communicate with the manufacturer. It's very difficult to close the projects. Very difficult. The university is training you. You have the ground now. Yeah. So you have the right attitude, right attributes. Continuous learning. Yeah, continuous learning. These are the human capital essentials that we need to have. Yeah, as an engineer that actually eventually to get involved in the aircraft delivery process. Yeah. The aerospace engineer just now I've mentioned already. Now let's talk about the test flight and the team. Now, we'll be very surprised when we go to the airplane. Yeah, you go to the airplane. We thought the pilots will actually have all the, captain so and so called captain so and so have 20 years or 15,000 hours, or thousands and thousands of hours, right? You feel that they are the most, they understand the airplane more, right? Most of the time we have this because they are captain so and so. Actually, no, you will realize that as an engineer that is part of the test flight team, many a times the pilot will come back to the engineers and ask the engineers, hey, when I roll the airplane, I felt that there's a vibration every time I bank maybe 3 degrees or 10 degrees. Why is it so? Then you will go to the wing, you look at the aileron, you look at your rudder, and then you will be able to explain to the pilot the reason for this, vibration is because, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the next thing is that if you were to roll, you have to make sure you trim the airplane at certain angle. So these are the inputs, the feedback that engineers can give. So a test flight must be done with the engineers always there. And then, as an engineer, we are there to monitor all the parameters. We sit in the cockpit, we sit in the cockpit, and we check all the parameters, whether the parameters, the specification, design specification are within, the aircraft type data sheet. Not many pilots look at the aircraft type certificate data sheet. Yeah, like for us, before I took delivery of the airplane, any airplane, the first thing I do is actually extract down the aircraft type certificate data sheet and read and understand what is the design requirements, what is the design specification of this airplane, what is the altitude the aircraft can actually fly, at what level, the pressure, the differential pressure, what is the maximum differential pressure of this airplane, because that is the structure, that is the biggest, the best, optimal structural strength that can take the differential pressure. Engineers know, but the pilots, maybe they know, maybe they wouldn't know. Activation of the oxygen system, it did operate at the flight level of 130 when there was a loss of pressurization. So all these things, the test flight and the team will work together with the pilots, with the engineers, with the aircraft manufacturers, representative engineers, aircraft manufacturers, the pilots, and also aircraft systems engineers together during the test flight. It's a lot of fun, yeah, and we have to be very meticulous, paying attention to detail very carefully. Otherwise, the aircraft comes back to have this problem, that problem, this problem, this problem. I never solve the problem. So this year, when I was taking delivery of the Gulfstream, we flew from Georgia, and we actually landed in Las Vegas. Yeah, Las Vegas. So it was cold. Yeah, it was cold in Las Vegas, but it was actually a bit warm in Georgia Savannah because it's more towards the south. Yeah. And after landing in the Las Vegas, so we did the inspection on the plane. We checked the airplane. Everything seems to be normal. Yeah. So we secured the airplane. Yeah, we secured the airplane and the crew, the cabin crew, the flight crew. Yeah, even the manufacturer pilot. Everybody went to rest. I went to hotel. I also went to hotel. The next morning when I came to the airplane, so I saw a huge puddle of water underneath the nose gear. Huge puddle of water. So for normal people, they don't take attention because why? It is raining. It might have rained yesterday. So what is the big deal, right? But for engineers, no. Yeah. I raised a report immediately and say, what is this water? And I want to know, where does this water come from? And as far as I know, there is no sources of the water in the nose gear area. No sources of water there, and there shouldn't be any water there. This report that I raised makes the airplane stay in US another 2 or 3 days. I don't know, 4 days. Why? Because the engineers report, they have to take it seriously. And I received a call from Malaysia to tell me that make sure and inspect and check what actually went wrong that causes this. This happened during part of the test flight. If we do not have the strong knowledge, understanding of the aircraft system, we can never do that. People will never listen to us. Yeah. Okay, so this is also part of the checks that we need to do during the test flight. Yeah? The cabin check, the galley, the galley means the other word is the kitchen. The galley where they cook the food, they make the coffee, all the equipments, all the compartments, all the switches are all working. The coffee maker, the entertainment system must be good, clear, no noise, and also you also do a comfort check. How do you actually feel with the lightings, whether the lightings are done well, the lightings, there's no flaw, there's no vibration noise, or annoying noise in the cabin, all these things I actually check during the test flight. And for engineers, engineers like us, we will extend the flap, we will deploy the engine, deploy the thrust reverser, open up the cowling, and then we will check very, very carefully. Even though there's nothing, no report, we will open up and check. Engineers are involved in this kind of activities, And then if all this pass, everything is passed, then we will do acceptance of the airplane officially. That means the engineers or sometimes a designated, person by who can sign the acceptance of the airplane, it will be designated. Yeah. Sometimes it's engineers, sometimes it could be the pilot, sometimes it will be a senior member, of the company. Once they sign that, means the aircraft is accepted. And once the aircraft is accepted, they have to make the remaining payment of the airplane. Yeah, depending on the negotiations of the financial part of the agreement. Sometimes it might pay phase by phase. Sometimes it might actually accept the full payment at the end, after the acceptance of the aircraft has been signed, and then they will deliver the full payment. Yeah, and then after they have received the full payment, and the next process is actually the closing and the delivery ceremony. Of course, usually this closing ceremony for the airline, usually it is also a publicity for the airline. So they use this as a marketing promotional material for the airline. They will have cake cutting ceremony. They have a flyer. They have this banner, and then they'll put it in the news that they are taking delivery of the 787 or the A380. All these at the closing ceremony. The closing ceremony, usually the first aircraft, the top senior management will come. But the subsequent aircraft, usually the directors of the company, directors of engineering, director of flight operations, or the operations director, they will come. But it is a ceremony where all of us enjoy. All of us actually will have fun, because from the process of signing the agreement, the letter of the sales and purchase agreement, until the delivery of the airplane, usually it will take 2 to 3 years, depending on the backlog of order. Like for now, what happened is that the airplane will take, for example, the corporate jet that I'm working on, it will take 2 years, 2 years from the date of signing the sales and purchase agreement before you can actually receive the airplane. Yeah. So the process actually go through stage by stage that I mentioned just now, and we actually manage, especially the head of engineering or the director of engineering. Usually you'll be given the task to assign to manage the whole thing, because remember, everything engineering perspective comes in first. Engineers comes in first. Yeah. So this is actually my last slide. Yeah. I'm going to conclude with this presentation that by Mr. Igor Sikorsky. Yeah. Sikorsky, you all know, right? Sikorsky is actually the one of the person that actually Sikorsky helicopters, the founder, founder. Now, aeronautics, he gave a conclusion to us, a quote to us, aeronautics was neither an industry nor a science. It is actually a miracle, looking at from the design and the development stage, just to design an airplane, thousands of engineers was involved, mechanical, avionics, electrical, software, all these people are involved. And you talk about mechanical, there's so many systems. So many. You're talking about landing mechanical system, the propulsion system, the pressurization systems, the components, all this involved. It is thousands of people, gather together and put their brain together and come up with a airplane, with a flying machine, with all kinds of capabilities. It is actually a miracle, according to Mr. Igor Sikorsky. So we are in the profession, you and me, in a profession where it is very, very interesting. It is a field that always drive our interest. I'm not sure about you, but for me, it is always a passion that drive me in the aerospace industry, in the aircraft that I work on, in the engineering field that I work on. Has always been interesting for the last 32 years in my life. I've been working on this, and I never get tired of it or get bored with it. Never. Okay, so thank you so much, and all the best in pursuing your aerospace engineering dreams. All the best. You are at the good hands of the Universiti Putra Malaysia. You have a good aerospace department there, and I believe all of you have the potential to be one of those outstanding aerospace engineers. So with that, I end my session, and I would like to open the session for any Q&A. Thank you so much, and I pass the floor back to the mic back to Engineer Professor Dr. Wahid. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, technologist Ricky Liu. I think it is quite an interesting experience being shared from all of your aircraft delivery, and I wish I'm there to also go through the activity. That's make me understand why you went for quite some time, maybe sometime nearly 2 months, 3 months overseas just to receive the aircraft, because it's not just looking at the exterior of the aircraft. You have to go through the documentations, make sure everything is in correct order. And I'm quite surprised when you mentioned that some aircraft owners they are not really genuine, and then they may hide some information. That's quite surprised, Ricky. So
Yes.
okay, so I think there's a lot of things that we already being shared, even though the quality of the audio not that good, but I believe we have to live with it. I can still hear it. Some probably because of the connectivity. Maybe there are questions from students. If you have any questions, if not, I will give you question next week based on the presentation given by TS Ricky. So because any feedback from the students? Right, from Sufia, Hasha Sufia. Why was one of the same model Gulfstream just now was rejected? Yes, Ricky, there are two model of 280, right? One of it being rejected. Why is that so? Is it confidential to share over here?
It's okay. It's okay. I can share it. Okay. One of the airplane that was asked to inspect. The owner, the original overseas owner that owned the airplane, claimed that this aircraft only flew for 800 hours, less than 1,000 hours. Now, as an engineer that we have been working in the aircraft for so long, even when we go to the airplane, when we look at the systems and the components, the ductings, the pipings, and all those, we actually know that this aircraft has operated more than 800 hours. So there are these cases that happen where aircraft private owners, they want to maintain the value of the airplane. Because if you lock the aircraft hours too high as a private owner, then the value of the airplane will drop because your hours are very high. So what they will do is that they will under record the hours, so that it looks like it didn't fly much. But engineers who go to the airplane, When they look at the airplane, they will know already. Look at the actuators, look at the seals, look at the flaps, look at the hinges. We know that this aircraft has been worn out to the level that it has actually flown for more than 800 hours, easily 1,500 hours. And this is something that engineers have to learn on the field. This is something that engineers gain through your experience when you're looking at the airplane. And because of that unclear under declaration of hours and the cycles of the airplane, that I actually wrote a report that this airplane indications, indicate the condition indicates it is more than 800 hours. And of course, the owner won't take the risk. Owner would not want to take the risk because the airworthiness status of the airplane will become different. So they will not want to take the airplane. So whatever the engineers recommend, they will usually accept it. Yep. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ricky, for the response. Any other questions from students or feedback?
So from Imran, Imran is saying, which is your personal favorite airplane model that you have flown and why? Actually, my favorite now is actually the Gulfstream, G500 and the 600. And this is the airplane that actually I've flown. I've actually did training on the airplane and tested the airplane, look into the systems of the airplane. And this cockpit, this cockpit of the airplane, literally, there is no more switches in the cockpit. I mean, usually we think aircraft always have system switches and all those. Basically, it is no more switches. I mean, literally, there's no more switches. It is just like an iPhone, or an iPad, pasted all over the cockpit. You are all touch screen, and the touch screen, because of the software, it is actually have it the switches, the virtual switches has a lot of embedded system. That means one switch that you touch in, you can actually go quite deep into the systems to work and check and ensure your aircraft is safe, or select the operation system. Because of this, the airplane is much lighter, the performance is much better, and also it also increased the safety and the redundancy of the airplane. And that is why my favorite airplane is actually the G500 and the G600, the latest airplane. And I'm very sure that the future airplanes, as we develop into the future, the airplanes will move towards this direction. Thank you so much, Imran.
Of course, the Gulfstream 500 is the most expensive, right, Ricky?
Yes, it's about 50 million. 50 million US million is about 200 million ringgit. It's very, very expensive. I look at one of the hotel, I think about 50-story hotel in KL. The whole cost of it is only about 100 or 120 million. For 50 story, about 500 rooms. This one airplane, only 11-seater, 200 million.
Yes.
So we have to actually, the people who actually sent to work on this airplane must be fully capable and qualified. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, I think the responsibility, I hope all of you, the students, of course, it's quite fun and it's quite interesting to become a position like TS Ricky, but the responsibility is not fun at all. It is on you. You are the one who accept the aircraft. You are the one who give engineering or technical recommendations. Right, Muhammad Yunus, is there any chance for us to undergo internship in SRA? Right, so bonus question, Ricky.
you can write in. Of course, the HR will have their own policy. You can write in with your resume and CV. I just type it at the chat here. But HR has a policy whether they will accept or not lah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, just for information, I've I think last semester, last year, I think TS Ricky accepted a group of students under, I think, under aerospace management as well, right? No, there's a engineer and society project. Right?
Yes.
So the two groups of students, I think 5 of them, who are being attached to SR Aviation to as a part of activity under engineer and society subject. So engineer and
Yes.
society subject will be offered next semester. I am probably, I don't know who's going to teach the subject. If it is me, most likely I will get back to Ricky to offer some engineering problems for students to get involved. Right? So
Sure.
Mr. Ricky has already put up his email there. Whoever would like to communicate with him, get some advice, because all of you are going for your industrial training in I think 6 month time. So it's about time. Next semester is your time to get in touch with the relevant industry. You can get involved with MRO, aerospace manufacturing, system integration, or design company, right? So probably you can get a better understanding of the industry. Okay, time is not on our side. It's already near 1 hour 40 minutes. 1 hour 45 minutes actually. So on behalf of the Faculty of Engineering and the Department of Aerospace, I would like to thank technologist Ricky Lieu Chee Leong for his valuable time during his lunch time. So probably later on I will treat him to have lunch. So and I hope all students already benefit from his presentation. I will try to process the recording. If it is okay, Ricky, we will just for the sake of the class, so that they can also benefit. Probably they can view it again, and I will probably have some quizzes with regards to the presentation that being made. Okay, so again, thank you, Ricky, for your time, and probably we'll meet some other avenue. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much to all students. Okay, for your attention, and have a good day ahead. Stay safe, everybody. Bye bye, and assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Bye.